We did the local vet's website. We used a picture of a hamster. 4 or 5 years later, like we hadn't done the right licensing thing. They came back and this company was like, it was like $1,000. And we were in this sort of hamster dispute for a little while. It was quite funny.
That's hysterical.
The case of the missing hamster license.
Today, I'm thrilled to welcome Laura Davidson, the CEO of Tag Digital. Tag Digital specializes in performance marketing and innovative digital marketing solutions tailored for event organizers globally, aiming to boost attendance, reduce cost per registration, build data, and improve ROI through a combination of data and technology. Laura, alongside her husband Craig Davidson, founded Tag Digital and has steered its fascinating journey, evolving from helping local businesses to becoming a specialist in the event sector and now joining forces with MDG, a Freeman company. Laura is a strong advocate for leveraging automation and AI marketing and daily work. Laura, thank you so much for joining us today. We're going to explore a lot of your experience and insights, not just about what you offer event organizers, but your journey as an entrepreneur, a co-founder with your husband, as well as now being part of a larger organization and one we all love in the event industry, MDG, which is part of Freeman.
Lovely. Well, thank you for that lovely intro. I'm delighted to be here today.
We're delighted to have you, and I know there's a little time difference, and you've got 1,000 things going on over in London. So again, we're super appreciative of your time. So you've had a fascinating journey, and I was really interested to hear how you started out, as a marketer, marketing agency for local businesses, and then somehow you landed in the event space. Can you describe that journey?
Yeah. So going back, Craig and I were pretty fresh faced. Well, actually, Craig started the business initially in 2011, and we were both 24 at that stage, and we thought we always had this kind of desire, like to go and try and do something ourselves. And we knew digital and we knew marketing. I'd come from a background at a video startup, and Craig had done a graduate placement at a big corporate, and we were both kind of ready to try something a little bit different. So we had this kind of idea to start our own agency, which sounds very grandiose for what it actually was, which was the two of us in a tiny office that we shared with a local football team. So it didn't smell great, and we didn't have a fridge, and it was all a bit rough and ready. But the idea was we knew that people didn't really understand digital. Like this was just when people were kind of getting websites and social media was a thing. And so we went out and, I've always loved sales, just got such a kick out of selling something, making something out of nothing. And we'd go around like the dentist or the vets and say, would you like a website? We could manage your social media. What about email marketing? We did little blogs and we did training for the local council. And that all was going fine. And we were starting to get some revenue, which was great. And then after a little while, we thought this business could probably be more if we were in London. So we moved from Scotland to London, and we got our first big corporate client, which was then UBM, and still our client today, which is Informa. And we've kind of started there. They were like, "Do you do PPC and retargeting?" We're like, "Yeah, yeah, we do all of that, like just figuring out as we go." And we started working with the protection and management series there, and just we started getting more calls saying, "Oh, we hear you did a good job here," and we got another organizer, Ocean Media, and then it just started to grow. And after maybe like a year or so, we thought, I think we should really focus on this space. We had a mentor at the time who um, advised us that a niche is good and you can win more business. So we started to kind of hand off our other clients to other agencies and friends that we knew. And that took a little bit of time. And just all the while, we were kind of building this specialism. And the business was quite client led, I'd say, on the international front. So, like, we were working with events in the UK, and then Informa would say, "Oh, we've got this event in New York, we've got this event in Dubai." DMG would say the same. And so, very quickly, the business was international. And I think that's when the growth really started to go quickly. So every year we were like doubling and just getting more and more events, more and more specialized, and then starting to hire a team. So our first employee, now our CTO today, and yeah, and we've just kind of grown and kept growing, and obviously now very happy home at MDG and Freeman. So lots of fun. along the way.
Well, I mean, one, if there's any technology companies who target the event industry, there's lots of learning in there, which I'll talk about quickly. But what's amazing is that, and it was a testament to the quality you deliver, and the partnership you develop, is that the fact that you started off with UBM and are
Yeah.
like at
Yeah.
Informa is still like a huge and probably is, one of your top clients. That's a
Yeah.
real testament, because
Yeah.
lots of change, different decision makers, new acquisitions, and you've just exploded your presence at that company. And you hit on something. I actually came across Tag when I was at Glean In, but prior to that, I was with Feather. They say Heather from Feather.
Oh yeah.
So and
Our
they've
worthy rivals.
yeah, right. But they've kind of evolved to really focus on the
Yeah.
nonprofit sector. But at the time, one of the biggest challenges, you know, I saw with event tech companies who did not understand the event industry was that the land and expand strategy wasn't going in and selling an annual subscription for the company or even the portfolio. You had to go in and get some events first, and then you added more events and more events and more events. And events and portfolios all have their different P&Ls. So it requires it's not just so easy to be like, oh, we got this event, we're going to get that one. You have to have a very solid strategy to get that expansion going correctly.
Oh, it's so true. And I think that has been true at Informa and Emerald and Clarion and all of these guys. Like we had to kind of, I think we had to understand the organizer and then each individual brand and personality. But yeah, I think now we do about 300 brands across Informa. So that's Markets, Connects. And I think it's everybody talks, when things are good, they're all happy. If they're not happy, they let us know as well. So I think it's making sure that you're doing the right thing for that brand and you're also working across the overall organization to say, okay, where are the trends? Where can we support? We do a lot of education, I would say, with our organizers. So we're going in and we're talking about like memorable creative or how do they measure properly, and we really think like where are their challenges and help upskill the digital teams. And I think that has shown that we're always innovating, we're always doing something new. But yeah, it's lots and lots of brands. I think yeah, we do about 1,000 a year, which is a lot.
Yeah, absolutely. It's like mini P&Ls within a massive P&L when you
It
look
is,
at
yeah.
every event. So, well, let's talk about the knowledge that you have now about what works and what doesn't with attendee acquisition and engagement. You focus on all different types of event organizers. It's everything. It's one thing to try to acquire free attendance to a big trade show versus paid attendance to a very high level CEO type conference with a high ticket price. But I bet you they all have one thing in common, and that is how good they are at their keeping their data house in order. Can you talk more
Oh
about
yeah.
that?
Yeah, I think there's a few different things that they need to do well in order to be successful. So yes, for sure, good data that's all organized and segmented and then utilized properly within campaigns. So we have amazing infrastructure available to us now with, say, programmatic advertising. We can connect directly into a data lake and then we can build segments. And then actually what we start to do is then we're layering what do those interest groups do versus their behavioral targeting as well. So the whole thing just gets essentially like predictive advertising. So that all comes down to the quality of the database and how engaged they are so that you produce the right signals. I think the other flip side of this, and I think this is something people have talked about for a long time, but maybe haven't really lived, is memorable creative. So we've all seen like a million different ads, and it's show floors, and it's a demo, and it's this and it's that, and it's this many attendees, or whatever the thing is. Like it all is a bit of sea of sameness. And so I think the organizers and the events that are going to do well in the long run are those that focus on like how do we connect emotionally with our audience. So what is it they actually care about in terms of advancing in their careers, networking, like human experience, like what is it that we can kind of get that warm and fuzzy feeling, or get them totally riled up about something in their industry. It actually doesn't matter. It's just something that's emotive. So if you have a decent data set and you figure out how to use that audience signaling and you pair it with really strong creative as a strategy, and you think about it as a brand building exercise. So like we get so focused on like, here's a 12-week campaign, get all the ads out, get as many conversions as possible. But actually the biggest thing that unites everyone is like, have I heard of this event? And that's true of your procurement teams, legal teams who are making the decision to send people. And all of that comes down to, do we remember the creative? So I think it's a combination of those things. And I think that's really not well understood. I think we focus on who we think our key audience is, but we forget who's all working behind the scenes, controlling the budgets, deciding who goes.
So with that creative part, and I would say messaging, and if you have your data house in order, and let's say your event hits all different, you've got a large ICP and buyer persona pool, right? But they all have different pain points. Are you able to use the data that for your clients to be like, okay, this customer segment's going to get this creative and this messaging, and then hit this landing page to do the conversion, while this segment is going to get a nuanced one, that it's not just the spray and pray. Like everyone wants to hear about the event, the date, and the two keynote speakers or whatever it
Yeah.
may be.
Oh, for sure. Yeah. I think it's a bit of a dance these days because you do want that personalization, but the ad platforms are definitely making that harder. So, yes, tapping into what you know about your personas and how far you can target with those. I think the other bit, and this was something we did a session with LinkedIn earlier this week, and they said something like 81% of deals never happen because we forget about the hidden buyers. So, how do you talk to those people who are making the decision on, are we going to exhibit? Are we going to send 3 delegates to this event? And that they're looking at that maybe from like a risk point of view, credibility point of view. And so I think it's, who do we know that's front facing and who do we actually not know who's making a decision, and have a cohesive strategy to all of those people, which yes involves segmentation, but also a realization that that will change and we have to look more behaviorally, and we're actually giving more autonomy to the ad platforms at that stage, which is a little bit frightening, but it's something we have to embrace in a world of AI and automation.
You mentioned twice so far the increasingly challenging environment it is, in terms of marketing and paid advertising, trying to capture, audience, off property, let's call it. Really, where do you see the market heading right now? And like, in concrete terms, like what are you most nervous
Yeah,
about?
I think changing in privacy has been something we've spoken about since like 2001, I think, was talking about cookie depreciation. So that's always been a thing. And I think what it's forcing people to do is be more thoughtful and intentional about what are they actually giving in terms of value to their community. So the way in which I see people adapting their strategies, and those I think will do well, is year round. We're thinking like always on, what can I give to my audience that's valuable? Do we need kind of camaraderie? Do we need smaller kind of thought leadership dinners? Do we need content that's going out? Like, what is it that I can do to drive value and be seen as a partner year round, so that when we come to the actual event, I'm not just asking them for something, I've been giving them something for the whole year, like giving value. Um, and then when we come to do our ask, which is come to the event or give us your data or exhibit, they know who you are. You've been talking to them all the time. And then I think that's getting you around any kind of challenges in terms of privacy, because they want to engage with you, they're asking to engage with you, and they're expecting to hear from you. So I think it's that. And then the other side is um, investing in the technicalities of doing something like server side tracking. I think not, you won't be able to rely on pixels for that much longer, or let's assume that you won't, and then going the extra mile to set up something a bit more sophisticated on the tracking side. And probably the other part of that is doing media mix modeling. So we're not talking about this costs this to acquire this. We're saying, okay, how much are we spending overall, and what's the outcome that the business is going to get? So freshening up the ways that you're looking measurement is probably how you will feel confident in that new landscape.
So does Tag Digital offer what I call the full suite of marketing solutions and support, not just paid, retargeting?
Yeah, for sure. So we are definitely offering more now as part of MDG, which is really exciting. So we already were doing some consultancy. So it might be things like we're doing AI audits or we're doing digital audits or training or creative development, things that are quite digital adjacent. But now that we have MDG, we can offer everything. So we're doing sessions today on influencer marketing or international marketing, which is huge for so many of our clients trying to figure out kind of geopolitical landscapes at the moment, all the way into PR and web. And so we have, whatever you would need from A to Z in terms of attendee marketing and exhibitor marketing as well. So I feel like we're going into really strong positioning as a integrated powerhouse.
So really the MDG relationship is real is very it's a true win-win. On one hand, you're helping MDG, gain more traction and clients and footprint on the EMEA, the global front. On the flip side, now you're able to offer clients a full swath of solutions, an A to Z
Yeah.
marketing, suite that, that helps them. And one thing we're hearing is not just on tech, but on partners, events tend to have a ton of tech, like a huge tech, tech stack, lots of partners doing this and this. It becomes really chaotic to manage all of that, but there's a lot of, you know single partner strategic partnership, consolidating the technology, because they need to actually be doing more on the strategy and execution side. So to have to manage all of that with all of the tech and partners, it's becoming unwieldy and
Yeah.
costly, actually. So
Yeah. Yeah. It's too much. And I think that's where we can offer something that is quite unique and yeah, really deep kind of digital specialism, but also they have lots of other specialist areas and actually can support with, what tech stack should you have and how do you use it and how do you work with agencies? Like there's so much, it's such a complicated landscape. So yeah, I think we're really lucky and it's felt such a natural thing. Like we've got Sarah here this week, which it's just felt like culturally makes so much sense. And then the services, right away, there just feels so many opportunities for us and our clients and our team. So yeah, feel very lucky.
excellent. So let's talk about AI, and we can talk about it in two ways. One is how you're using AI to improve the value you're delivering to your clients, and how you see AI in general changing and improving marketing. But on the flip
Yeah.
side, events really well and you go to them all the time. How do you see AI shaping up in terms of the actual attendee experience in the in-person format?
Yeah, yeah. So I could probably talk about a couple of different projects that we have. So we're really fortunate. Our CTO Alex has been absolutely the disruptor in our company and has been at the forefront of this for the last few years. If you don't have him already, go into his LinkedIn group. I think he's got 100,000 followers on this topic. So maybe to start out how we're adding value to our clients, and I'll share a couple of fun things that we've done, or maybe I'll start with our team. So one of my favorite things that we've done is we built our own internal AI agent. So we felt like, or we heard the stat, employees spend 20% of their time looking for stuff, and we can all relate to that. Like, oh, it's not that logo, it's that logo, it's not that deck, it's that deck, it's what's the naming convention, rah rah rah. How much maternity leave do I get? All of that stuff. So we took all of our information, all of our policies, all of our conventions, and we put it all into Apollo. And then we integrated that into Slack so we can constantly be asking questions. And the idea is it saves our line manager's time. And he's also a digital marketing expert. So it's trained on our data and it saves us a huge amount of time. And also, there's a lot of visibility. So our team can see what's being asked. And you can have a private conversation if you like. So we built that, and then I think there's lots of different ways within our process that we're using AI. So you've got your typical things, supporting with copy generation, ideation, creative, video, all of that stuff. But maybe the some of the other more interesting use cases are within training. We built a voice agent, and we took 50 different scenarios, going from easy to hard in terms of what a client might ask, a challenge a client might have, a nightmare situation a client is having. And we train this agent. And then, so when we're in training, and also just as you're developing, working with the agent to work on your communication and how you're handling these things, and what ideas do you have and what solutions do you have. And then you get real time feedback on, how it all went. And then you get a kind of like pass or fail in terms of that interaction. So I think that's helping our team develop and build confidence. We use a note taker on all of our calls, which is nothing kind of that incredible. But what we have built in the back end is a repository of all of the data, so we can query, training gaps or sentiment analysis or anything that might be coming up. So those things have made a big difference internally. Um, and then externally, maybe just to share one example, we built a few agents for clients, and we went through a process, and we kind of did character development. So it's like Pixar level animation. And we did it kind of pre-show, on the show floor, and post-show. And then we also, on the back end, built like a foundational agent, so you can ask it lots of questions and it supports you, but it's got its own personality. So we did one for the European chatbot conference called Chatty. And the idea with that is it supports the brand, it keeps that kind of more year-round approach, and the audience are engaging, and it's recognizable. Plus, it's very fun for everybody. So those are a couple of use cases. There's hundreds probably, so I'm open to digging into any other areas or topics you think might be useful.
No, I really love I'm just sitting here like my brain swirly, like,
Yeah,
we should be doing this. So,
yeah.
those are really three good use cases, how you're using it from a company standpoint. Do you use AI? Like you talked about creative earlier. Are you using AI to help with identifying the right creative elements based on, industry and, the event's ICP or buyer persona?
Yeah. Yeah. Yep. We are using it. So I think where we are seeing a benefit is we need more creative now, I'd say, to run campaigns and to see what's working and what's not. So it supports us in removing that bottleneck. We have some amazing prompts. Some of them are like a page long, that allows us to build different things, whether that is the creative strategy, but maybe looking a bit deeper and saying, okay, what would we do for commercial marketing versus attendee? What would we do for the Middle East versus the US? Because that's an area I don't think is well understood. Like we might do things like language translation, but actually different regions will respond differently to color palettes and different wording and different graphics and visuals. So it allows us to test that really quickly. So yeah, we're definitely using it for all of those things, sense checking, insights and data, and making sense of huge data sets. That's been really helpful. And probably, yeah, evaluation. Like I think we know that it's in the quality of the prompting that will give us the output. So we've spent a lot of time, I think we've done like 4 prompt engineering sessions to make sure that we're getting decent copy and creative visuals coming out of the tools that we're using. So yeah, it's supporting with all of that.
One thing I've been, noodling around in my head about the ability of AI to improve the attendee acquisition and engagement side is, they say it takes, in the old days, they used to say it was 7 to 10 touch points before conversion. Now it's like 18 to 20. I don't know where that data is coming from, but it sounds
Yeah.
correct if I look at how I engage when I learn about something new and how long it takes me to keep seeing and getting hit with the brand and messaging. Um, you know, what would be if you actually were able to use AI to get super hyper focused to relevancy in terms of like a one-to-one messaging to convert, like let's say you had your you know, you have your full universe of potential registrants or attendees, but then there's what I call your top of the pyramid, the ones you really, really want to convert. You know, could AI be building the story, the narrative, and also where that potential conversion is in their information consumption journey? You know, like, okay, we got them, they clicked on an ad, they left the site, but that, and they maybe visited 2 pages and they hit 2 pages that are high intent pages, but they left, right?
Hmm.
But we now have that data about this person. Then they come back or they hit another ad, and that ad is something that takes them more from just the initial overarching message about the event. But because we know what high intent pages they hit, and let's say that was about something about the agenda, we then can hit them with an ad that has that agenda item. And oh, by the way, here are other attendees that look like you who have registered. But you
Yeah.
continue to build that based on this one person, or is that something you're doing, or
Yeah.
is that future vision?
I think where it gets tricky, I think you need a certain number of people in the audience to be able for the ads to trigger. So maybe not quite 1 to 1, maybe like 100 to 1 probably is the level you get to. But you can definitely do things if they visited this page, then show them this ad. So what are those key triggers? So it might not be their exact user journey, but like you say, okay, they spent 30 seconds on this page. Let's put them in high intent. Let's show them the special upgrade offer. Let's show them, 1 week left to get this, whatever it is that creates that kind of urgency or FOMO or whatever it is that we want to do. So, yeah, I think looking at their journey and then mapping that back against like where are the key triggers, I think that works well. I think the challenge that we're having now, and this is happening fast, is we're actually moving to a world with AI where it's a zero click economy. So you know that your user journey is changing. Like I can feel it. I've owned a paid search agency for, a decade and I'm hardly using Google. So you're searching for something in ChatGPT, you're looking at it, you go straight to the site. There's no click that's happened there. So you lose all attribution. Like there's definitely a user journey, but it's not something that's easy to measure. And then we're seeing stuff like the AI overviews have come into Google. Fine, I got the information that I need. I don't need to click anything. I have what I was looking for. And I might go on my phone and do something else. So we're getting to a world where that kind of like channel attribution and what are people doing, it's so messy and it's so convoluted. And there's different interactions happening. So I think we're encouraging people to try and look bigger picture and say, okay, what do we need to do as an event? Okay, we need to grow 10%, 15%, or whatever the numbers are. And then putting all of that together and trying to look a bit broader rather than individually on a channel basis because we can't is the short answer. And that's going to get harder in the future.
When you say the event organizer needs to go like 10% or 15%, what are you referring to?
I mean attendee growth or revenue growth or
Ah,
whatever they want
okay.
to do. And it might be flat, it might be we need to just not decline this year, whatever the number is, but let's go on the positive that it's growth. And I think that's where we're seeing that we can support better is trying to get out of those like we expect this little budget to do this little thing. We kind of need to look bigger picture because the user journey is so messy and we don't do anything in a linear fashion anymore. Like you say, it used to be a bit more kind of organized. We're chaotic now. We're on different devices. We're on our TV. We're on our phones. It's messy.
So this challenge, this mess you're talking about, is not just for event organizers. I mean, this is
No.
really challenging any type of marketing services company, any media entity who are super reliant on clicks from Google. Essentially, I'm reselling Google's clicks to my site, as eyeballs and clicks. Um, where do you see this shaking out? I mean, it's a little scary, the way,
Yeah.
like,
It's shifting, and I think like you're going back to the kind of old adage that money goes where the eyeballs go, and so there's different channels, and I think that's a little bit broader now in terms of we're seeing a real uptick in channels like connected TV, audio ads, like with so much podcasting and kind of live radio. So I think it's media is getting more expensive year on year because there's more demand because we're all like zombies attached to all of our devices. So I'm not worried about that necessarily. I think what people need to get ready for is just a complete shift in the job that they did and the value that they got is going to be something else. And I think that's happening at a pace that we've never experienced before. So we are fully invested in AI. We're using it every day. We're empowering our team, all the things. But it's still happening way faster than, these other big kind of industrial revolutions, which took maybe 10 or 20 years to happen. It's happening in 6 months, it's happening in a year. So like Meta came out the other day and they said, yeah, like you don't need people to manage these. You put it in your website, you connect it to your bank account and hey presto, that's it. So in that world, when I imagine what happens there, I always come back to like agencies do the jobs that clients don't have the resource to do or don't have the knowledge to do. So for us, that might be how do you build a connected media strategy with out of home and TV and audio and digital and all of that stuff, or media mix modeling or any of these things, because that's like the next step. So um, yeah, I think there's always space for a guiding hand in the next phase of innovation, and that's what I see our job is to be ready and there to support our clients go on that journey.
That's again really two important insights I think for our audience is that you mentioned that connected TV, I would say video,
Oh
YouTube
yeah.
videos, podcasting, like all of these alternative channels that are no longer alternative, they're mainstream and that are and I think the thing that encourages me about that, and I read something, it was yesterday or the day before, where because of the issue of AI and distrust and the ability to scam people,
Hmm.
um, that the in-person part, number one, is going to become even more important.
Oh yeah.
And that could, again, you can I watched this terrifying show on these women who were getting scammed by like this
Oh
network of
no.
Yahoo, whatever they're called, boys from Nigeria using the same image, but even like being able to FaceTime on a phone call and because they were able to take the video from the person's social media feed that they had posted about something, they were able to superimpose lips and
Oh
it
my
looked like, I
goodness.
know, it's crazy. Um,
Yeah.
so I think there's going to be a um, new area of startups that will address this issue of identifying like counterfeit AI things. But that the video, I can see somebody, I can hear them. There's that the trust level goes up.
Oh
So
yeah.
those channels actually become really, really important to both communication and marketing.
Yeah.
So
Yeah. I think you're totally right. And I think what's very interesting is like the authenticity with real people. And so much of the AI generated stuff is very perfect and flawless. And like as humans, we are not perfect, we're flawed. And actually, I think that will have much more weight. And I see for kids and, young employees coming up, if you can build those human skills and connection and create experiences and build confidence, like those skills, I think become just way more valuable because we can do all the operational things. So yeah, I think you're right. I think it's there's always a dark side, of the internet, of any technology. That's a reality, but I think it will change as well, like and we'll be like before we used to do things like around maybe privacy and email and advertising. We could do whatever we wanted, and now we're shocked at the things we used to do. And I think it will be like that. There'll be a kind of rebalancing probably as we move to verification or whatever it is. But yeah, there'll be a few bumps in the road to get there, I'd imagine.
For sure. Well, let's move more on to your role as CEO. And I actually you wrote something on LinkedIn about leveraging AI in it was a mini me, like a
Oh
day.
yeah.
Yeah. And two things were fascinating. One is, and one I'm absolutely going to be taking for myself, which is like, I have to label every day as like, this is my revenue day. This is going to be my client, engagement day. This is my speaker day. This is my, I do advisory. So, but it's just that because I'm such a list person. So, one is thank you for that tip. But two is, can you talk through that exercise you went over and what it's been able to help you as the CEO in terms of, leading your team?
Yeah, so that one I did a while ago, but I have recently made a digital twin of myself, which was good fun. I think the realization I've had is like I'm just busy all the time. I've got three kids, running our business, and then now I'm working as part of the leadership team at MDG. So it's time is just my most precious resource, and what I've found is AI genuinely gives me time back in terms of I can get through tasks, I can work quicker, I can do things that used to take me a really long time much faster. So I remember doing a podcast a while ago, and the host was talking about like how much you should be using AI to get the benefit, and he was talking like 2 to 3 hours a day. So it was maybe a couple of years ago, and now I feel I'm maybe like 4 or 5 hours a day, just like making my life easier somehow, whether that's doing shopping lists or workouts or like everything at business. So I think it's finding what those pinch points are. And it'll be things like I'll take pictures of my handwritten notes and upload those, transcribe all my calls. Like I'm always looking for a way to take like a 20-minute task to a 10-minute task. Family dinner ideas, like everything all day. And I talk to it. And so I'm probably losing my mind at some stage, but I do feel it allows me to move faster and get through big tasks.
Wait, tell me about this digital twin because I'm like
Oh yeah.
fascinated now.
So this was the thing. So we've not released it because we weren't totally happy. That's the thing. Some of these things aren't perfect. I'll send you the video after. But what we did is there's so much like me and Craig started the business 14 years ago, and we've documented as much as we can along the way, but there's just still stuff in our heads. So the idea was we take me and we interviewed me for like a couple of hours and we got all the information or like what would I do? Because what I'd love is like this is what I would do in this situation. Not that I'm saying that I'm always right, but people come for advice or questions. Like this is what I do. So we documented all that stuff. We transcribed it. We fed it into an agent, and then we filmed me on. Did we use Synthesia to do it or HeyGen? HeyGen is what we used to do it. And so we filmed me all these different actions and words and things like that, and then we fed it in. So you can talk to her, like you can call her and ask her questions, and she looks exact same as me. She talks quite like me. She sometimes has a bit of a rogue, like Australian accent, but that's okay. The technology is quite new. And the actual idea that we had was we were going to use it as a sales tool, like a kind of first point of contact. Like I can't meet every new prospect. Our sales team are really busy as well. Um, but they weren't actually happy putting it out. So I'm sure we will at some point in the future, but it's been a bit of fun. And the idea is like you get a pretty good experience, like not the full experience, but maybe 50%. So I'll share it. You can tell me what you think.
Oh, I would love to see it. I mean, there are some companies like One Mind comes to mind. It's One Mind.
Uh-huh.
That's Amanda Kalo, who actually was the CEO and founder of Sixth Sense. This is her new enterprise, but it's basically they call them superhumans. And
Oh, I
they
like
have
that.
names and but they're really focused on the SDR business development part of the sales, but
Yeah.
for tech, so they can answer these incredibly complex questions. But it sounds like you're building one on your own, but check out One Mind.
Oh, I
It's
will.
very cool.
That sounds
Yeah.
great.
So now that you're part of Freeman MDG, which is a Freeman company, and I'm an entrepreneur. I always say I can't work for anyone because I would get fired in a second. I don't like getting told what to do. But how has that been for you culturally?
Yeah. I think we'd worked with MDG since about 2019, so we knew each other pretty well. And then we'd been in a bit more of a formal strategic partnership for maybe a year, kind of the year previous to the acquisition as well. So I think we were probably more so attracted from the cultural alignment, first of all. And then, like, so many businesses can make sense on a spreadsheet, but like, is everyone going to get along? Are we going to work well together? And I think there was such a strong female leadership team there. They had such a great reputation, and they knew that we were bringing something quite unique to that business as well. So I think we all run our own different parts of the business, and there's a huge amount of autonomy there. And we're coming into it with the mindset of like, how do we create this into something even bigger and even better? So everyone's coming in with that kind of shared mindset. And culturally, it really has felt like an extension of our team, and they've said the same. So we did a buddy program, and it just has been a really warm welcome, I think, into the team. Same with Freeman, just such a warm, capable, um, really, really high standard of team. So yeah, it feels good, and I think we're excited. We're starting to see all the things that we're doing together now, and there's lots of integration things that need to happen, but the business side looks very exciting ahead.
Yeah, no, they're two really awesome companies. I actually bumped into Mr. Freeman at the
Oh,
CISO
nice.
event.
Yes.
And, my background is a family owned business, fourth generation, which just sold in
Oh, wow.
2021. So I always have a special spot in my heart for family run businesses. So it's just there's a lot of integrity and
Oh,
legacy,
yeah.
but also vision. Like
Yeah.
so I've been very impressed with Freeman and MDG also just
Yeah.
really solidly run, great people. When I was at Gleanon, I would always pop over to their offices and bring
Yeah.
lunch and talk about how to use referral marketing to drive
Yeah.
registrations. So
Yep.
um,
Warm and competent. That's my thing. I'm always like warm and competent teams. That's who you want to be working with.
for
And I can
sure,
say
for
that's the
sure.
case.
Because it is honestly, that is the 80/20 rule, and we want the 20. So,
That's right.
so what excites you most about the future for event marketing?
Um, I think the possibility just to keep doing something new. I think there's a shift happening on the creative side, but where I think there's a big opportunity is like, how do we capitalize on, call it influencers, call it thought leaders, whatever you want. I don't think that's really been utilized to its full extent within B2B. So I see like so many of our events are on the B2B side. And I think that's a really exciting prospect. So how do we put our attendees, our exhibitors, our sponsors, our speakers, our employees into our campaigns and give that kind of authentic experience that consumers done well for the last kind of 5, 6 years. I think that's something that's about to really explode, and I think that's hugely exciting. And again, it's just something fresh and new and different, which we like shiny things.
Awesome, terrific. So I have something I do at the end of each podcast, which is more fun rapid fire questions. And we always start with
Okay.
favorite book because we have a book club and we'll put your favorite on our when we launch that. So what's the best book you've ever read professionally or personally?
Mm, I love reading. I would say Grit by Angela Duckworth has maybe been the most transformative book for me. I think it's a really simple concept, but she did the hard work and the research on it. And I think, yeah, find beauty in the mundane is a lesson that I've always lived by and try and share with our team. So,
We touched on this in the beginning, but I'm sure you have a lot of funny anecdotes the beginning of Tag Digital. I mean, one obviously was you sharing the office space with a football team and the smell. But so what is, you started off knocking on doors or, local businesses. What was one of the funniest requests you've ever gotten for, a website or a digital marketing campaign in the early
mm.
days?
So We did the local vet's website, and this was before events, and so we used a picture of a hamster and we used the picture. And then, like 4 or 5 years later, like we hadn't done the right licensing thing. They came back, and this company's like, you owe us like $1,000. And we were in this sort of hamster dispute for a little while. So um, we did resolve the hamster dispute and paid the right license fee. But yeah, it was quite funny the email chain that was going back and forth to resolve the case of the missing hamster license. But
A
we did get it
hamster.
sorted.
Wow. The hamster photo worth a thousand
Yeah. Oh,
dollars.
I know. Yeah, exactly.
And now the other part is working with your husband. And you said you're great at organizing company structure. He's really great at details about people, even what kind of food they like or where they went on holiday. I'd love a partner who
Yeah.
could. I have a terrible memory with that. But
Yeah.
so who's better at picking out gifts, you or Craig?
Oh, Craig. He is so good at gifts. Like for me, he's always buying like nice things for me or like he's just really good at gift giving, which I think is a sign that somebody's thoughtful and pays attention, whereas I'm like a bit more chaotic and can never think, and I'm like ordering something the night before. He listens to things and he'll get something for somebody's birthday like a year later, which yeah, I'm very lucky to have a partner that does that.
Yeah, and I will say my husband's he's very much a B personality. Can't remember where his keys are, his wallet is. Like it's I'm constantly like helping him with life. But the one thing he does is he listens.
Yeah.
And I could say, even from my engagement ring to like, I can't remember I said it, and all of a sudden I have the gift. So it's a very
Yeah.
good
It's a
positive.
very good skill.
It makes up
Yeah.
for the lost keys and wallet on a daily basis. So listen, this was really great, Laura. For listeners who want to connect with you, where's the best place to find you?
LinkedIn is my happy home. So yeah, I'm always on LinkedIn, Laura Davidson, and love to chat.
For our listeners, if today's conversation about data driven media and AI powered platforms resonated with you, I want to invite you to join Revenue Room Connect, our professional network for CEOs and their revenue critical leadership teams leading businesses in the media, data, and experience economy. Please visit www.revenueroomconnect.com. Quick save the date announcement. Revved Up will be March 23 through the 24th at the Vinoy in St. Pete. Ping me on LinkedIn for more information if you're interested and want to learn more.